Alright guys, in this video I want to demonstrate how we can do linear regression using a graphing calculator. And for this demonstration I'll be using this TI84 Plus Silver Edition. Many of you guys may have different models of graphing calculators. That's fine. The process should be pretty similar. You just may have to go search for certain keys which may be located uh, elsewhere on the graphing calculator. So in the last lecture I demonstrated to you guys how we can plot these nonlinear and linear models here, plotting our data. Here we're plotting the concentration versus the time, and showed you how we can get these linear regression lines for our models and look at the variability in the data and our R-squared values and get improved R-square representation or variability in our data by taking linear models. So I want to show you guys how we can do that in the TI84 or on a graphing calculator. And the first thing you want to do is locate this stat button on the graphing calculator. Stat button on this TI84 located next to the actual arrows here, the navigation arrows. And so I click on the stat button, and the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go into this edit screen, so I can either hit 1 or just hit enter. And that's going to take me into this window where I have a series of columns labeled L1, L2, L3, and then continues on beyond the screen. This is a series of columns where I can enter in and plot my data points. Alright, so L1 is ultimately going to be my x-axis, L2 is ultimately going to be my y-axis. So I want to enter in the same data that I see over here on my other screen. So for L1 I'm going to hit 1, enter, 2, enter, 3, enter, 4, enter, 5, enter. And for L2, alright, I need to navigate over here, and I'm going to enter in the values that I have for my concentration. 20, enter, alright, 8.7, 2.6, 1.5, and 1.3. Okay, it's very important that I make sure I have the same values for both my L1 and my L2. Otherwise this won't work. Alright, so we'll leave this like it is. Alright, and the next thing I'm going to do is go back to my stat button, click on my stat button, and this time I'm going to go to the calculate screen on the CALC, which is next, and I hit the right arrow key to go to the calculate screen, and I want to locate this linear regression number 4, LIN regress AX plus B, number 4 on here. So I can either scroll down or push 4 and then hit the enter key. Alright, and then it's going to bring up a screen, and I want to make sure that the L1 value is in my X list and the L2 value is in my Y list. I then want to scroll down here to the store regression equation. Alright, so this is how I want to store my regression equation if I want to store it. And I do want to store this regression equation, so I'm going to come over and I'm going to click, I need to locate the vars key, the variables key, or VARS key on my graphing calculator. I push that, alright, and then I want to navigate over to the Y vars screen. So I right arrow over to the Y vars, and then I can either click enter or push 1 to get into the function screen. Alright, and the function I'm going to use is this Y1. So this Y subscript 1 is the function that I'm going to store this linear regression equation into. Alright, so I hit enter there. And now you can see that Y1 has shown up as where I'm going to store this regression equation. So I can then scroll down or click down to calculate, alright, and hit enter. Alright. And here we go. So now I can see that I have my linear regression equation, all right, for this particular model. So I get y equals ax plus b. This is my linear regression uh, line, okay? And I can see that it does indeed match up with what I did in Excel, all right, where my slope is negative 4.46, all right, and I'm expecting this line to cross my y-axis at 20.2, all right. But if I want to display my r squared value, I have to I have to do a little bit extra here. So the next thing you want to do to be able to see these the r squared value is I need to locate this catalog button. All right, so I'm gonna click second key, all right, and the 0 key, which is where my catalog is, and I hit 0. And the next thing I want to do is I'm going to navigate to the D's. All right, so this is the long list in this catalog, and I want to get to the D's, so I can either scroll down, hitting the down arrow all the way to the D's, or since my alpha lock is on, all right, here, all I have to do is for this one hit my X raised to the -1, and that'll take me to the D's in my catalog. So just a little quick key. You could have just scrolled all the way down. Anyway, so now I'm going to scroll down until I get to my diagnostic on. Alright, so from diagnostic on, once I get my little arrow to my diagnostic on, I hit enter. And it's going to say, do you want me to turn the diagnostic on? I do. I hit enter again, and it says done. Alright. So now let's go back up to our stat, all right, key again, our stat window again, press stat. I'm going to go over and say calculate, same thing, go to the calculate window, and I'm going to calculate number 4, all right. I'm going to store this regression equation again into my y variable function, y1, all right, and then scroll down and hit calculate again. This time I hit enter, all right. I didn't necessarily need to store it in the y1, but I'll show you that in a second. So now I have my linear regression equation. Here's the same values, but now I see I get my r squared value, okay, of 0.78, right, which is what I have over here on the plot that I created in Excel, right. And I also get this r value, all right, and this is the correlation coefficient for this particular line, and I can see that I get a correlation of negative 0.88, all right, which means really there's a strong negative correlation between our concentration and time, and we can kind of see that represented here in this form as well, all right. And so the next thing I might want to do is plot this and look at it, all right, and see what this actually looks like. And for that, I need to turn on my stat plot, all right. So over here on my calculator, I need to turn on the stat plot. So I hit second and the y equals, and here are my statistic plots, all right. And so I need to turn this plot 1 on. So hit enter. And now you can see up here I have the on flashing, so I need to, and this is just the plot screen for the statistic plot 1, and so I could change the way that these plots look. I want to make sure that L1 is in my X list and L2 is in my Y list. All right, and I could change the marks or how I want this to look if I wanted to. But for now we're going to leave it as just a scatter plot and hit on. All right. I do that, and now I should be able to come over here and push my graph key and see that statistic plot. So if I hit graph now, you'll see that I get a very nice plot which shows me the data points of the concentration over time going down, and here is the linear regression line of what we see here for my y intercept line, or for my y regression line, sorry. And it looks very similar to what I had for in Excel, so we can see that these are very similar. If for some reason your screen is zoomed out and you're not seeing this quite look the same, you can actually come over here to the zoom key. Alright, press zoom, and then I think it's number 9, but let's make sure. Yep, and so you come down to 9, alright, and push zoom stat, alright, hit 9, and it should zoom you in to the actual regression and data from our actual regression. Alright, in the next video I'll show you guys how to do that fairly easily for the linear regression as well, or for the linear line plot as well.